Welcome to the Automation Unplugged podcast, the podcast for technology professionals, featuring leading industry personalities. I'm your host, Ron Callis.
Let's get started.
Hello there. Ron Callis with another episode of Automation Unplugged. I hope you all are doing well. And I appreciate you all, whether you're watching our video content or you're listening to the audio podcast. Thanks for tuning in. This show, as always, is brought to you by my day job at One Firefly. And if you would, I would greatly appreciate it if you'd go into your favorite format where you consume or listen or watch the show and leave us a review. Ultimately, that'll help us get this content out to a wider audience of your friends and your peers in the industry. And I would generally appreciate it. So if you could take a few minutes to do that, but I know you're here to listen to our guest. Today, I am very honored and excited to have actually a pair of brothers, Bryan and Marc Rizzo from Eastern Time. And Eastern Time was actually recently, in the last couple of years, acquired, and they became a part of a larger group called the Sciens Building Solutions group. So we're going to learn all about that. And these folks actually live in, well, they don't live, but they operate out of Allentown, Pennsylvania. And you guys, if you listen to the show regularly, I started my career by moving to Allentown, Pennsylvania, because I worked for Lutron Electronics. And I was right there for my first 6 months right out of college. So let's go ahead and bring in Bryan and Marc. What's up, fellas?
What's going on, Ron?
Hey, Ron.
How's Allentown?
I'd say the weather is, we're in the mid 60s, so we're out of the freeze. Looking forward to the spring.
It's practically summer.
Yeah.
Practically summer. All right. So tell us, tell our audience, maybe Bryan, we'll start with you. Tell us about your role and within Eastern Time. And then Marc, also tell us your role. And then Marc, if you would, tell us a little bit more about the business. So
Okay,
Bryan,
so
we'll start with you.
Alrighty. So yeah, I'm Bryan Rizzo. I'm the Vice President of Business Development here at Eastern Time. I have been with the business now going on 18 years, coming fresh out of college. And what I do at Eastern Time is I cultivate the end user and contractor relationships in our life safety market. I have some projects I work on from time to time, but again, keeping those strong relationships going, that a lot of them 40 plus years, I just need to keep them flourishing and continuing the movement on them. So that is what I do aside from supporting the other parts of the business and leading with Marc.
Awesome.
Sure.
Marc.
Well, Marc Rizzo, I'm the general manager at Eastern Time. I have been with Eastern Time full-time about 8 months less than Bryan. So Bryan was, I'm sure we'll get into it at some point, Bryan was a major influence to join the team. As general manager, I essentially in charge of the operation. I work with, I've got the right-hand man, operation manager, the controller, the sales team, and then Bryan. So essentially oversee the business, reporting, and general growth and direction. So.
Got it. Understand. Now, Marc, tell us about the history of the business, because you and Bryan, your dad started this business, right?
Yes. So really, so essentially, Eastern Time is the middle child.
Mm-hmm.
So I was born in 81. Eastern Time was born in 82. Bryan was born in 84. So everybody can do the math there on ages. But that's really, Eastern Time is the middle child. But really, what Eastern Time is we are a life safety systems company. We provide and serve the community with everything from fire alarm, nurse call, pro audio, security, all these related functions. We provide the engineering, the know-how, the equipment, and the implementation of these devices. And really our vertical ranges from kind of typical office building campuses to really to education, healthcare, correctional facilities. I mean, really, it's a pretty wide range. The only a lot of warehouses, distribution, really essentially everything but residential.
Yeah.
And we presently cover, say, somewhere between a third and a half of the state of Pennsylvania, with our main office in our division out of Allentown, Pennsylvania, a great branch up in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and then out west, Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. So 3 offices within our division, which is obviously a larger collective of Sciens.
Got it. I'm just for our audience that's listening, I just put up on the screen the website. So I'm just going to click through the website a little bit. I'll click through some of these topics here. The verticals. So it looks like you guys are active across hotels, retail, classrooms, house of worship. Which of these verticals do you primarily focus on, or is it pretty evenly distributed, Mark?
I think, I mean, really, it's a pretty wide swath. I mean, really, it depends on. I mean, part of it depends on development. I know in our particular market, which is really, I mean, probably the biggest verticals are healthcare. I mean, there's a couple large healthcare systems that continue to acquire and develop new locations. It's a big educational market. And then just based on our geography, I mean, aside from kind of the normal large office complexes within the main hubs of our market, but with our particular market, there's a lot of north to south and east to west, as far as between Pennsylvania and New York and New Jersey. So there's we do have a number of kind of distribution hubs based on the thoroughfare.
Got it. Okay, understood. And Bryan, if you could, again, I'm still on the website and I'm just navigating through. I see fire and life safety, security, and audio video. And I also I see pictures of nurses, and I remember working with you guys a few years ago on your website. So I remember you also do
At that time, Ron, that was at the Security and Data Magazine conference a couple years ago. And at that time, I think it was like a C or a D rating. And I'm quite happy that we started working together at that time to get it to be kind of a premier website and have an excellent web presence.
Oh, I appreciate that. I think your website is beautiful. Anyone out there should check it out. I'll actually put it up here on the screen. The web domain is eastern-time.com. eastern-time.com. For those that are listening, maybe a bunch of our audience are probably more on the resi side of things. What is a nurse call system? I know that some people, I did not know what that was. And then you kindly, Bryan, educated me what that was.
So a nurse call system, and there is a difference, between nurse call systems and emergency call systems. But a nurse call system, they're very, it's a requirement at hospitals, with emergency room, extended patient care areas. But it's a way for the patient to communicate with the staff, and also a way that the staff can monitor the patient in their care. So it's usually, and Mark was a little bit more versed in this, but you have the typical pillow speakers, which allows patients, if they have an emergency, get medication, go to the bathroom. Also, when it comes to monitoring, we can monitor if the patient's in their bed or not, blood pressure, ventilators, just making sure that the patient, that the caretakers, usually the nursing staff, are aware of the patient's condition, and the patients can voice, whether it's the push of a button or communicating back to the nursing staff if they need something. And a big thing that is nurse call systems that is kind of shaping and changing the industry is the quality of care index that a healthcare system, it's like a grading system, and it's published. You can see we get analytics and send it to the health network on how long it takes to tend to a call, how long whatever the situation in the room is takes to actually get resolved. So this information gets pushed out because consumers, patients as consumers are able to make choices these days. And the nurse call systems with the analytics that we have built in and the data that we send to the health network, they publish that. And the higher the grade on a health network, the more people are going to have a desire to choose one health network over the other. And Mark, Mark was more versed. Was that pretty good?
That's perfect. I mean, you touched on essentially the rating is the HCAP. And I think the way that, what I find interesting, and I just came from a nurse call, Westcom nurse call conference in Vegas. I was out there last week for the week, is similar to other areas in our business. Integration and improvement it's moved from a requirement and a safety to the patient experience, and integration. And when we talk about integration, it's integration to benefit the staff and the patients effectively. And there's the tie-ins to some of the reporting they have that is required and internally. Some of the again, when I say experience, the ability to not only deliver quality care, but also to visually show somebody what's going on, visually show the caretaker when people are in the room, some videos on some outpatient options, tying in different technologies as far as being able to track and place staff. And really, again, it's improved the quality of care. As Bryan mentioned, it's a very, very competitive market out there, and people are voting with their money. I mean, it's a massive competitive industry, and for us, it starts to remind me a little bit more of some of our other integrated systems. It kind of stood alone for a while, but now it becomes more of this open platform, whether it's video conferencing, mobile care, analytics. It does really, I feel like that area is really caught up with some of our, I think some of the viewers and listeners might be a little bit more familiar with security, for example, and some of that that platform. It's really moving to that trend. I just think in the nurse call system, it's really 3 or 4 big manufacturers. So there's not the wide range of options as some of our other systems.
I'm curious, because you're in hospitals and there's life safety, I'm assuming at the core of that, is there special certifications that you need to have, or is it like, how does that work? I just don't know what I don't know. Like, how does that work? How does one become certified as a technology contractor to design and install and then service those systems? Is it any different than, say, CCTV or access control technologies? Do the manufacturers, or are there any other requirements in place?
So I think it's more similar to access and security and sound. So it's less, there's less requirements from an actual state certification or national certification. It really goes down to being certified and understanding the products, and then being able to deliver compliant reporting back to the customer and the health system and up through a couple of their governing agencies.
Got it. That makes sense. All right. Well, I have so many fun questions to ask you guys, but I want to start at the core, just with a little bit of your backgrounds. And maybe, Bryan, we could start with you. Like, you mentioned you went to college and you entered the business, but what does your journey look like, from, say, studying in school to then being in the family business?
So studying in school, and I guess this was kind of the entry for Mark and I. We started, and it's very common, started doing inspections of fire alarm systems when we were in high school, right, as summer work. Mm-hmm. So we grew up in the family business, both of us. I mean, it might be a little bit different, but I kind of always wanted to be involved in the family business. And I'm not saying Mark didn't, but I had the opportunity to go down to University of Maryland to study, got my economics degree, and by the time I was nearing graduation, I knew I wanted to go right into the business. It's something that I was talking to our father, Chuck, about. So I went, I can say I've only had 3 jobs in my professional career. Um, Working at Eastern Time when I was younger, and then postgraduate in college. I worked at a landscaping company in high school a little bit. And then one of my favorite jobs that I feel like I got a lot of great experiences. I was a server at like a 5-star dining facility in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
when I was going to school at University of Maryland. So I knew I wanted to do it right away. I spoke to Chuck enough and had enough conversation that I knew there was a spot for me as a salesperson. And Chuck had both of us start from the ground up. We had, aside from having the same last name, we had to earn our own reputation and make our own relationships. So that was kind of my journey, and spent a lot of time in sales, pounding the pavement, making relationships, creating and developing relationships with the architects, engineers, construction managers, and contractors. Those are our customers, outside of the end users. I spent a lot of time in sales. I transitioned into managing our construction department, which is composed of the project managers, engineers, technicians, and some of the finance staff. I love that. Gave me a lot of, because I was a salesman, and now I'm ingesting the salesman's work. So I was able, I really had a great time leading our team then. Um, Even post acquisition into a slightly different role of operations manager, which functionally I was doing the same thing with just a lot of, different reporting. And going on 8 months at this point, I transitioned from operations manager. We're able to find an excellent candidate in our location and industry. And I moved into the vice president of business development, which is, I love it. I mean, I see, you know, I'm not in the office a lot, I'm on the road, but I get to meet with customers that we've had for 40 plus years.
Wow.
And it's, a lot of these people know the foundation of our company. Some of these 40 plus year old relationships knew Chuck when he was my age. So it's been really cool it's been cool personally, but it's been very important because I feel like in this digital world we live in, not enough, there's not enough face-to-face communication like in person. I feel like that's very potent. So I've been able to pull the good and the bad, right? Because when I meet with the customer, yeah, you're going to hear a lot of great things, but you also hear maybe some of the communication struggles they've had with our company or with some of their own staff. And that's given us the ability to digest that and improve some of our operations. So it's been a very exciting metamorphosis when I think about when I was in the field testing fire alarm systems when I was 16 years old to now I'm almost 41 years old, and kind of back out there with the customers, but just at a different level. So I've enjoyed it.
That's awesome. Mark, what's your journey look like?
So I think the journey again, we get from a family dynamic standpoint. I think what's the most surprising when people ask is um, Chuck never pushed or forced or even required us to be in the business. He was a mentor, but I mean he really never even talked too much about it growing up. I think we witnessed his hard work, his interests, and how he ran his life and his business. And I thought that was an interesting approach. I've heard other folks where they kind of, all right, well, when are you gonna move in? So for me, I went to school in Philadelphia, down at Drexel, beautiful city, Philly, love it.
Yeah.
but
Current Super Bowl champs too.
yes,
I'm say
exactly.
excellent.
Yeah, they are. It's
That's
good,
the
good
Eagles.
time of year for you
And
guys.
our not always feral fans. We got some good fans. I know we get a bad luck at times, but no. But I think what's interesting is I was open to choose where I went to school, and I went in through a business degree, and there was a great co-op program at Drexel, and I dove into sales. I sold copiers. I was very successful selling on that sales track. I ended up working after my first co-op. I worked full time throughout and kind of did class at night, and developed some great skill sets. I mean, Chuck's an engineer and a salesperson at heart, so I really dove into the sales side. And then after that, I had an opportunity after I graduated to get into commercial real estate. Big, promising, a lot of fun, pretty glitzy, and started making my way in there. And then again, with maybe probably in the back of my mind, assuming I'd make my way into the business. But Bryan got in right out of school, and he kept me in the loop. And then it came to a point where he said, Mark, we have something great here. Not only do we have this great, amazing company, the ability to work with our father and grow and develop relationships and potentially work together. He's like, don't miss out. I mean, don't miss out on this. You're really give it some hard thought. He was genuine, and I joined shortly after that, and I mean, it's been quite the journey. I mean, it's been fantastic. I'm sure we'll get into the family the family dynamics, but it's been I started side by side with Bryan. I mean, we were on a we worked right next to each other on a folding an 8-foot folding table for years. And
what were those early years like? What type of work were you doing?
So I think I'd say the first 5 to 10 years was really it's really contractor and end user sales. So it was with our business, it was one of the benefits for Chuck bringing Bryan and I in, and again we had a smaller sales team, but a sales team. But I think it's Chuck was so excellent at cultivating those relationships. You only had so much time in the day to drive and sell, run a business. I think when we came in, when we came to the business, we were probably around like 12 to 15 employees, maybe a little more, maybe 20 max. But he was spread too thin, and we were that infusion of let's learn the business, similar mentality, the honesty, the ethics, and really to pick up that ball. And then again, it could sound a little cheesy, but with Chuck's statement, and it's a reality, 1 + 1 + 1, the three of us equals 4. So it's a force multiplier with us together.
Yeah.
And we were bought in and invested quickly, and really picked up, with his tutelage and other help, we were able to pick up. But it was really, the first 5 or 10 years was really grinding, and on that 5 to 8 years was really,
it was fun.
Really sale. Yeah. I mean, it was, we were freewheeling sales guys.
Yeah. I mean, we each had kind of, you develop and same with any business, you have your kind of key accounts. You want to make sure you keep those, have a lot of face time, keep those key accounts happy. As Mark mentioned, you get spread thin as a business owner. So Mark and I were able to pick up those key accounts, serve them, as well as all the, the bid and chase market. And I think the cool thing that I've heard from a lot of customers, vendors, contractors is, yes, he's our father, but working with us, it was kind of took them back to the early days of working with Chuck, and they really appreciated that. It was, it's kind of nostalgic. So with their own unique spin.
And I think a nice little flavor, just to give you a little insight into how Bryan and I operate. So when we joined as salesmen, and we were on a salary and commission just like everybody else. But what I thought was pretty unique is the thought of equity within our family is big. And I think, two brothers, again, I'll toot the horn. I think we're bright, we're capable. We certainly work hard, but I thought the fact that from day one, we ended up splitting, we just split everything. So we had, we each had big accounts and some big years, but from day one, it was about equity. And I think what's pretty cool about that, and I think speaks volumes to our relationship, our family relationship, is the fact that we're able to do that, and it worked. That's a challenging thing, right?
Yeah.
Having different individuals participate, but really feel equal. And again, it's that force multiplier. So I think the way that we're able to operate that as a family, and it worked. It was that we had there was competition within us to be better, but never Bryan versus Marc. So I
Did
think
you over that journey, did you guys the two of you end up buying equity from your dad? So buying equity into the business. So you guys were owners of the business. Did that happen somewhere along the way?
yeah, I guess that came. I mean, as a combination of that and also some gifting from Chuck. But that was like going back about. I think we probably kind of officially became partners. What,
Like
10 years ago?
10, 12 years ago.
12 years
Yeah.
ago?
Got it. And so what's are there any challenges working with family? I mean, the three of you, dad and brothers in the business, and yet there's dozens of how many employees do you guys have today?
It's
Approximately.
65. 65. Yeah.
Okay. So you
65 employees.
tripled the size of the company since where you guys joined. Um, are there any, not that I want to focus on any drama,
Well,
but is there any challenges working with family?
so I would say, I mean, there certainly is, but even with, if it's not family, there's going to be challenges. There is the
There's
unique,
challenges in leadership of a
there
growing
is.
organization.
You
So
have, there's like a brother dynamic. There's a brother dynamic. There's a father dynamic. There's a brother father dynamic. It has morphed over the years. And have we ever had some heated debates or conversations
yeah,
that were very business centric? They started business, and every now and then, did you know where, if you're trying to get your point, where you could,
pull
just because
something
you're,
from.
where you could needle in a little bit more to get a reaction? Yes, but we did a really good job of keeping that calm, and like I loved it. I think it made us better working. Like Mark said, the 1+1+1 always equaled four or five. But there is the dynamic. Chuck is 71 years old. I'm almost 41. Mark's almost 44. You got to figure, if we've been, the duration of time, go back 18 years, it's adapted and changed and morphed even with the acquisition. But I mean, I love, Chuck will, it's a little bit different now, but he said, he always made the statement that he lived like a king in his life, and he has, because he was able to see his wife and two sons every day.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty cool and unique. I couldn't imagine not being able to see my father, my brother every day at work.
Yeah.
Yes, there's challenges, but the opportunities and just personal satisfaction that I've had, I know Mark, and even speaking for Chuck, it outweighs any sort of negative rifts we've had over the years, which really, I can't, there really hasn't been any. It's always been family. Yes, this is a business, but family has always been more
Yeah.
important, which is how we've treated the reason why we really didn't, we lost, I think, one to two people after the acquisition, like, 9 months in. The reason why people like working for our business as employees, and the reason why our customers and vendors enjoy the experience, is we treat everyone like family.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
challenges, yes, but
let's dig into the acquisition. Mark, help us understand kind of how did that all ultimately come to be? You guys had been operating. Your dad started the business. What was it, back in 1982?
Yeah,
And
absolutely. And I think since, yeah, again, he developed a great platform, great reputation. Bryan and I and other employees came through, and we all collectively helped build this. And we've been on, I mean, we've been on a rocket ship, growing year after year after year. So I think what taking a step back, I think we were joking earlier. being acquired was never. I mean, I go as far to say that would be treasonous to even bring that up.
Right.
And I think it's because we have the succession, we have the know-how, we have the knowledge, and we operated in that fashion as equals. And I think how things kind of turn for us is we've been growing. Certainly have some growing pains, administratively, maybe some internal technology organization, but we always manage to find a way to grow and add on and keep our customers happy. I think within the industry, there's a handful of major players like Sciens that look to acquire divisions, and in my opinion, and probably a lot of people in the industry, the majority of them out there don't do it right. It's a little bit of a slash and burn. It's the ends don't always justify the means. So that always really turned us off. What turned us around, again, hearing about Sciens, but more importantly, there's a family nearly identical to us with two brothers and a father, and there's another partner right down the road from us, within an hour drive of us that we've been friends with for the past 20 years. Family friends, personal friends, business friends, and they joined on with Sciens 3 years prior to us. And we listened to them, and we heard some really big promises when it comes to culturally, operationally. I mean, things that seemed a little too good to be true, when you're hearing it for the first time, and to witness it, to meet with them, to understand, how that impacted their business over a 3-year period with expanding, growing, sustainability, keeping the leadership, growing the leadership, more opportunities. We witnessed it. We witnessed that over a 3-year period, and thought to ourselves, this is the goal for Eastern Time is always to be a multi-generational, 100 to 200 to 300 year company. It provided a path for a private organization like us to add on and become more sustainable and compete with the larger entities and the region. I mean, with the marketplace, it is becoming more regional. We have customers that want us to be able to support them in our geographic region, which is about half the state of Pennsylvania. That they need that support into Philadelphia and New Jersey and in New York and nationally. And this was, this was a means where we could support our customers as well as get, help kind of build the best practices in the industry. We have and had a bright staff prior to our acquisition, but to get, to be able to really work with, for Bryan to work with other leaders within these very similar divisions, to have a really strong regional and national presence that is additive. That was a game changer for us, and we've seen, we've reaped the rewards of that rapidly. I mean, probably quicker than many would think, based on the retention and growth within our employee base. And we've had the two, since we've been here, a partial fiscal and then just finished our first full fiscal. Our revenue growth, our employee satisfaction within that opportunities, and our profitability. I mean, it's we've been on a steady increase, and that allows us to hire. That allows us to to operate. I mean, we're getting into the sprinkler testing and inspection, which is a great, which is really a great avenue for us, because our business is really built on our ability to serve many of the needs. We're not only focused on one aspect of low voltage systems. I mean, really our customers want us to be the one-stop shop, and we've kind of been there, and this has helped us kind of grow. So it's been, it's been pretty incredible.
Yeah. And Ron, one thing I just wanted to, one thing that was foundational with Sciens and on the cultural side of things is really important to us as a family business prior, was have fun. Make sure the employees are having fun. Make sure we focus on employee satisfaction. And that's been we did outings before, golf outings, fishing trips, picnics, but I think that value of having, having the employees think of this as more of just a job, but having fun while you're doing it. That's what boosts the employee satisfaction and morale. And I think that's kind of what in the industry that we are in, Sciens is very well known for. And I've been very happy and fortunate to have our employees and even our customers and vendors feel that core value that they have.
I was just poking around the Sciens website. I had it on screen for those that are watching, and it looks like, my goodness, it looks like they're doing an acquisition. It seems like almost every 2 weeks. At least there's a press release on their website every 2 weeks. It's extraordinary in terms of the scale and the breadth of where they're going. Can you shed any light on what your at least awareness is as to what they're want to become in North America?
So, I mean, Sciens wants to become the largest fire and life safety solutions provider in the country. Um, Now, there are a couple different ways. There's the PE backed way, which is one way, and then there's the kind of buy your business, take it over, adapt to us. Cut a lot of people. So within that PE style, which is what Sciens is, the private equity style, there is certainly the financial targets that they're trying to hit with these acquisitions. However, the thing that is way different than any other competitor in the industry looking at it in the same way is their due diligence process and cultural fit. Like the requirements for those for culture and acquiring the right business is uh, very very deep. There's a lot of due diligence that goes in to make sure it's exactly the kind of business that they want to acquire. Yeah, there's a certain sweet spot, like size wise, revenue, employee count, but the cultural fit and the fit in the various regions, and the fact that they are buying a well-run, reputable company is at the top of their requirement. And even if you go to their website, you can see that, you can, if you are interested in selling your business, there is an inquiry and they get hundreds of them a year, but it's really the business really has to fit and make sense. So they are very intentional in choosing who they want to work with. And, you know, because they realize there is a cost if you buy a business. I was listening to a podcast the other day, but if you buy the wrong business, if you just buy the business and don't try, don't keep the old owners and a lot of the old fabric of the business, you're going to be buying a stinker and people are going to go elsewhere. You're going to lose a lot of customers if, because in a family business like ours, obviously Mark and I were both selling business owners. And over the course of years, a lot of, the salespeople, we know, not all of the salespeople, but we had relationships with some of our best salespeople outside of business. So if you don't go about if you just buy, if they were to just acquire a business of any sort and you kick the old owners out or you move them out quickly, you're losing salesmen, influencers, and a lot of the salesmen have a relationship with those owners. So you're going to see business is going to go elsewhere. So I think the way Sciens goes about their due diligence and acquisition process, although there are metrics, right, of a private equity backed business that they're trying to hit, it's very intentional.
Yeah.
So
And because, I mean, Bryan nailed it. I think my only addition would be maybe clarification a little bit. It's it's an invest and grow strategy. So they're looking for. I mean, again, I think a family run and operated business like Eastern Time is really their kind of core target. But to find something great that needs an infusion of again some information, some talent, a little bit of capital, and a little more a little more collective direction and really grow. So it's purely an invest and grow strategy. I think there's been a pickup on acquisitions as they've grown that team. So I think at the time, I mean, I'll call it a year and a half in. I think we were 17 or 18. I think now they're close to 35. So
Wow.
they've been they've been increasing. I mean, it'll take some time. They have the patience to become that largest network, but I think what Bryan said, it's intentional. It's certainly intentional, and like I said, I've never seen anything like it, and it's something that got certainly got Bryan, Chuck, and I interested in, and we, as I mentioned, it was never even an option on the table, and we didn't talk to anybody else, and it was really only because of them and their mindset and their vision, and a year and a half in, I mean, it's certainly better than we could have hoped.
Well, and it sounds like you're delivering as well with continuing to grow. As you said, a lot of, you could do deals or maybe they acquire companies and those companies, pull off the gas pedal. It sounds like you guys have stayed, pedal all the way down, continuing to accelerate.
Yeah, I think it's a nice for Bryan and I think some other employees with some other opportunities. It's an infusion of excitement. It's a change, right? I mean, while we've adapted, I mean, there's certainly the challenges that come through. I mean, I know for us, high level, we changed to gap accounting and job completion accounting, and we also, I mean, we have there's some additional paperwork that comes through, but there's also we're I mean, it's touched a lot of our business, but most specifically, the level of professionalism on our construction side, when it comes to really growing our team into more of a traditional professional project manager and how we manage, that's challenging. There's a lot, and there's certainly growth that Bryan and I have needed to develop over the past year and a half, but it's a shot. I mean, again, it's a challenge. It's kind of a nice infusion. I know I think that the due diligence and let's say the first 9 months were tough. I mean, it's probably some of the most challenging days that I can remember.
Yeah.
But it's exciting. I mean, Chuck is an entrepreneur at heart. We certainly have that in us, and we have the desire to grind and accomplish and persevere. So that's in our DNA with our family. So it's nice. It is nice to see kind of coming through a little further that relate, because I mean, effort doesn't always equal results, or within a certain,
At least immediately.
immediately. So
Yeah.
it's kind of, I mean, it was nice. It was and again, we take, I mean, this is, this Eastern time is the pride of our family. So to see, to show our employees, to our customers, to ourselves, that it is, I mean, that it's additive right away was a huge win for us. And I'm sure, I mean, every business has their challenges and ups and downs, but I'm really
Blending
pleased.
cultures. I mean, that's what I've heard in acquisitions. That's often where the challenge can happen. Is that, I mean, in addition to getting people to operate on the same back end softwares and accounting systems and whatnot, but just blending different cultures, that can be challenging. But it sounds like from what you're saying, where your team is at today, and as measured by an important criteria of employee satisfaction, that your team's in a really good spot a year and a half into this deal.
And I think so. I think what's important is from a leadership, regional, national level. I mean, these are all people from the industry. These are people that are passionate about life safety. These aren't folks from a different sector that were very good at what they did and like, oh well, let me see if I can incorporate that. I mean, these are people that live and breathe life safety.
Mm.
One of the things that I think is interesting with our industry, or at least the employees that we want, is there's people on the front line. There's the firefighters, the police officers. I mean, you go down everything to our our army, and you can go across the board. I mean, really key positions in our world. And I think what our industry offers, on the technical front and the project management front is these. I see our people as first responders. They take and many of them are actually, volunteer firefighters and things like that in addition, and have served the country. But it's an opportunity for them to provide, and we take it. I mean, it is life safety. It's intentional, it's critical, and we really look to bring in employees that embrace that. I mean, we love to have fun, and that is a core value. But having people that take that seriousness and really take that on, as their personality is important. And I think, we have that at Eastern Time, and, regionally and nationally. I mean, we have people that live it and have been successful in it. So it's, kind of feels like, it's Brian, Chuck, and I, and again, a lot of great employees, getting that group together differently. It's a different feeling than, we represent a couple different and provide a couple different distributors and manufacturers. And there's a sense of camaraderie because, we have people across the country selling and supporting similar products, and there's some collaboration, but bringing, essentially a family together and really being invested together is huge, and it's exciting.
As you look out to 2025 and beyond, right? So right now we're recording this in March 2025. We're going to publish this on April 2025. We're right in the midst of a lot of economic uncertainty. There's tariffs happening. They're on, they're off, depending on the country. That obviously has lots of downstream ramifications, lots of discussions around it, rates and 2-year bond rates and 10-year bond rates and all of this chaos. Equity markets are going up and then they're shooting down. And we just recently, just prior to recording this, there was a major meltdown in markets. What impact is all of that with that background or landscape? How are you guys seeing the rest of this year for the type of work and the type of projects that you guys go and secure?
So I think the outlook still looks very strong, primarily because we are in a heavily regulated industry. So even I get it, if the interest rates are high, people are going to be less apt to building that new office building. A healthcare network might be less apt to building, a new hospital or medical office building. However, and we've seen this over the years, if they are not building new, then they are typically renovating. So maybe less new construction, more renovation. But since pretty much all of the systems we provide are heavily regulated at a state and national level, there's still a need for our services, whether it's the code required inspection services. Our systems are all monitored in a fashion that a fire alarm, for example, if there is a problem with it, it will beep and annoy the tenants. It will report off site. So you have to get that service.
Right.
Again, in the construction, if you're not building new, you're renovating, you're shape shifting a building. So although the new construction market might might slow down a little bit more than we anticipated, we have the revenue of our inspection work, our service work, our monitoring work, and the renovation work. That's how we survived the COVID
Seems like
pandemic.
a well-diversified set of revenue streams. So
Yeah.
between you guys and Chuck, you guys have invented a really stable business with all those different revenue streams. Sounds like many of them are irrespective of what's going on in the economy.
Yeah, and I mean, I think to add to that, we've developed such a large customer base and following, and again, I think the sustainability of our business, what we've been able to consistently deliver year after year is important, and also, to Brian's point with the construction industry, and in addition, it really becomes, again, from a reputation standpoint, it's less kind of public bidding and more more of that private work. So the the builders and the customers are going to their group and forming, it's these individual networks that come together outside of the public bid process. And when you have those relationships and the ability to show value and expertise and keep that process fluid, that's been a big part of our business and our sustainability. But we're invited to the table with the main players as an industry expert, and we can, at times we can cut a little bit of that fat and get right to the proper solution. So it's really, but I think when Bryan and I, we didn't choose the industry. Chuck decided to get in the industry, but what he's always said, especially as the world turns, and what we do and the various challenges and opportunities every day. This is an industry that is here to stay, and it's growing. It's only growing as far as opportunity. And for us as a multi-system integrator, we continue. We're very selective on what we bring aboard and get into, because we need to do that with excellence. But we're still expanding and growing, and that helps kind of fill some of the challenges at times. But
well, that makes sense. Personally, I've been on this journey over the last couple of years to become more healthy. And that includes going to the gym and running and doing some supplements, trying to be more mindful of the stress in my life, and ultimately better managing that through fitness. And you two fellows look like you're pretty fit. So could you take us through, maybe Bryan, we'll start with you. What are you doing to stay healthy or manage the stress in your life and this leadership role?
So great question. Day to day, I always, and it ranges in time, but I go to the gym for, a 30 to 40-minute workout every, 3 to 4 days a week, sometime between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. That is important as a leader. As a leader in our business, stresses come up. I find that exercise midday, when I can work it around meetings, is very helpful to clear my mind a little bit and make a better version of myself for that second half of the day. But outside of that, I know we've talked about this because you wrestled as well. Both Mark and I wrestled. I was 7 years old, Mark was 9 years old, but basically wrestling was a large part of our life from youth into high school and college, for both of us. The thing I love about it now is, outside of that normal gym activity during the day and eating healthy, I coach at a school level and at a club level, and I still roll around with these kids on the mat. I was joking. I took coming on this podcast, wrestling with a high school kid about 40 pounds heavier than me. I took a knee to the eye and an elbow to the nose, and I was hoping, coming onto this podcast, that I was not going to have a black eye and a busted nose. But from that completes me. Between on the fitness side of thing, which I feel like, if you're going to be a leader, entrepreneur, or just business owner or leader, you have to have more than just work to live for. I'm pretty simple. I love my family. I love coaching wrestling. And I love working.
Yeah.
Yes, I do like having fun, but that kind of what makes me tick. And a lot of it is very, I have 4 kids. We are a very, say, active family, whether it's on the lacrosse field, wrestling mat, field hockey field. So yeah, fitness is definitely eating healthy and keeping my body moving is, we were brought up that way. And I think it's a key to leaders in businesses to stay not only mentally active, right, reading, but physically active and something else outside of your normal day-to-day job.
No, I love that. There aren't many. I'm gonna say something maybe controversial, maybe not. I don't think there's many 40-year-olds listening that could stand to roll around on a wrestling mat and not risk a heart attack. So good for you that you're out there doing that. Not only helping yourself, but helping the youth. I think that's
Yeah.
really fantastic. Mark, what are you doing to stay
So,
healthy?
I mean, I think foundationally, both as a family. I mean, my both my parents have always been very active. I think nutrition and health and that competitive spirit has always been important. It's been one of the founding principles for us, and I think sharp mind and a sharp body go together. So I think it's worked for us. It certainly worked for me. I think both Bryan and I we do a good job. Trying to get something in during a workday. It's tough and it doesn't happen every day. But for me, after college, just endurance sports have been a part of my life, and then pretty consistently since then, CrossFit when I can. I certainly love to get a hot yoga session in, which is physically and mentally fantastic. Especially when I get it in, I get it between 12 and 1 occasionally, and that's a little mental vacation for me. Come back invigorated, and again, I've got two young sons, 3 and 6. My younger son and I we try to go rock climbing every weekend. We've got a great indoor facility, and yeah, I think the challenge for a lot of employees and a lot of leaders is how can you work that into your life? There's always something to do. There's always a reason not to do it. But we've always excelled when to get something in, that helps me stay up late when I'm doing things. It's definitely a stress relief, and I think it's definitely I think it's part of the success. So
How many days, Mark, can you if you don't work out, how many days does it take before you really feel it? Like the negative impacts on yourself?
I think it's I don't go there's not too many days in between, but I can feel more of a kind of like if I go, let's say more than 2 days without doing something, I feel a little glum. So maybe I rely on that a little bit too much, but it's we go if you're sick or whatever it is, if
Or
I go.
vacations can definitely interfere.
Yeah, but
Yes.
yeah, so but I think if I go a couple days when I think I've had an opportunity and I didn't, I get a little anxious, but I've developed over the years little ways that I can get a little mini workout in or
Yeah.
something. I mean,
It is like a natural high. And if you're, I'll say an adult or a professional, and maybe you were active as a kid and you've become less active as an adult, I think many forget how good it feels to feel good, right? People will go and they'll binge eat, or they'll binge drink, or they'll do whatever they do, and they'll sit and maybe veg and watch TV, and to read a good book or to be physically active, it is addictive. At least that's what I've discovered in the last couple of years.
that's what I
I've
think it's been
discovered
interesting. We've known each other for a handful of years now, and I get excited. I get excited when I see somebody like you that again from what I know, again, very active when you're younger, started a business, really dug in and prioritized some of those areas, but now to hear about some of your routines, especially over the past year and a half, 2 years, to see the excitement, the enthusiasm, and then again, and to hear that nature that it is adding to you. It's not taking away. I mean, it's really something that's important. So I get jazzed up about that. I think from our family, we've been fortunate. We've kind of had a version of that. We go in waves, but we've remained active. We've kept the rust off. But I get excited when I talk to people like you and some other folks that are kind of refining that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's great.
No, I appreciate that. I do feel like I've rediscovered fitness, and I'm better for myself. I'm better for my family. I'm better for my team. And it's almost like, man, I wish I had rediscovered this 10 years ago, not 2 years ago.
Well, yeah, Ron, I think like that's a bit as a business owner or anyone listening to this, I'm very happy that you brought that up. Like Mark said, you can, if you own a business or have a high position in a company or whatever position, you'll always find the work there. The work will never stop. And you can
If it stops, there's probably a challenge, but
yeah. But if and that's, if you don't have a good work-life balance,
Yeah.
life's going to go by quick and you're just going to work your whole life and not feel complete at the end of it, at least I think. And work-life balance, right? We only, fitness is a bit, mental and physical stimulation separated from work, whether it's coaching, reading, mentor. I mean, Mark was involved in the Big Brothers Club. He didn't mention that, but I know that's like an outside of the work, fun, fulfilling thing that he's done. I love the coaching, but if you go through your work life and all you do is work and succeed in work, whether it's via promotions or starting a business and making a ton of money, if that's all you're doing, I just feel like uh, life will pass you by and you won't feel complete. If you have a proper work-life balance, again, not everyone has families, but like I said, I'm family, fitness, work. That's what makes me tick. If you don't have a proper balance, which a lot of business owners are probably out of whack with that balance, it can,
Yep.
probably could be negative over the course of a lifetime. So I'm glad you brought that up, but fitness is just one only way that I know the three of us share that outlet with, but you got to have a good work-life balance if you're going to run a successful company.
I
Yeah.
think
No one on their deathbed says, man, I wish I had worked more.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting is I think there's more information out there being shared, experiences, podcasts. I mean, there's a ton of information that supports everything we talked about. But then on the flip side, in this day and age, I mean, there's more distractions and there's more demands and requirements. So juggling that and still being able to put out a high a high level of effort and output at work, it's a challenge. But I mean, I think there's enough out there that it's certainly not this isn't a new and novel idea over the past year or two. I mean, there's a lot of great anecdotal and things out there that really support that. But the challenge, just like everything, I mean, it's for many of us, it's easy. It's more comfortable to dig in and to dive into that hard work that that you can grind at versus make an adjustment in your life. But yeah,
I'll leave folks still with us with at least a small recommendation is if you're inspired by some of this talk about health, maybe just start walking, right? You can walk 15 minutes a day. You walk during your lunch break. You can walk in the morning, and then build from there. That was my story. I started walking because I had, all sorts of back issues that I blamed on my early wrestling career. And, back in 2014 and 15, and doctors wanted to start cutting on me. And I was just like, there's got to be another way. And then I discovered walking, and then it's been a long journey for the last 10 years to where I'm at now. So, gentlemen, it has been a blast having you on Automation Unplugged. As I promised you, an hour would go by in a blink. We are there. Mark, I'll start with you. Where would you direct anybody that wants to get directly in touch with you or learn more about Eastern Time or about science?
So, I mean, I would start with, I'd certainly start with our website, eastern-time.com. On there, if you go into the team, I mean, you can certainly find our information, our bios, or right to the Sciens Building Solutions website.com. So that's the best way. I mean, our main office number, if you want to go down that route, is 610-776-1222. I'm sure you can find me on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. But I mean, I am and Bryan are very approachable. I mean, that's kind of been a big part is the ability for people to get in touch with us. And so, I mean, we'd love to, certainly interested to hear from anybody that has questions, any interest. Yeah, I'm available.
Awesome. And same for you, Bryan. Any additional handles you want to give?
I would say, and I preach this all the time, but the number one thing as running a business or just being, excelling in life is being a good communicator. In person, being genuine, over the phone, on a podcast like this, be genuine and be a good communicator, because that's I've seen that shift over the years, especially in this electronic age where people get email fatigue, they don't respond quick enough, and there is people that will surpass you if if you don't curtail to the appropriate communication format with your customers. You will lose out. There are other people. There is artificial intelligence that will beat you out. So, my only recommendation is be excellent and genuine with your communication, whether it's internal with your family, your internal work team, um, and your external customers. And aside the last other thing I really appreciate the relationship that we have developed with One Firefly. Um, when I met you at the conference many years ago, and I think it's been a beautiful, wonderful, bountiful relationship. And I think one of the things that is interesting at Sciens and other businesses during acquisitions is they're trying to buy more than just the numbers. They want to buy relationships, and I do think uh, I do appreciate, and I think it is pretty wonderful and brilliant that you are engaging with them at a higher level with that initial conversation and recommendation. So that's what it's all about, the relationships and communication. So thank you very much, Ron.
No, thank you, Bryan. Appreciate that. Obviously, that referral, and we're working with the team over at Sciens and trying to help them with a few things. And we've got to earn and gain trust over there, and then maybe more things to come in the future. But for you two gentlemen, thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedules. I know you both run fast and furious running that business, and you've had so much success. So I wish you more of that success, and just want to thank you for coming on to the show.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Ron.
Ron.
Awesome.